The first time the Varn cadets saw a dog, one with themselves. It wasn't recorded in the official logs. But Red Talon never forgot it. Not because it was funny. Because that cadet was supposed to be the future of elite warfare. And he almost cried when a Labrador growled. "You believe you are prepared for anything the galaxy can throw at you," General Corrin announced, her triple-toned Varn voice echoing through the cavernous hangar like the judgment of gods. "You are wrong." 12 cadets, representing 6 systems and 9 species, stood at attention. Most were 7 feet tall, armored, scaled, tentacled, or otherwise intimidating by any biological standard. But not one of them breathed easy when the figure stepped from the shadows behind her. Chief Warrant Officer Red Talon looked like he had been scraped off the floor of a bar fight and dropped into a uniform as a dare. Stubbled jaw, eyes like frozen ash, and scars that didn't ask for permission. He wasn't impressive by alien standards, he was dangerous in a way that felt prehistoric. He didn't salute. He didn't even glance at the cadets. He was brushing fur. "Sir," General Corrin said tightly, "the class is ready." "Almost done," Rhett replied, still brushing with slow, reverent strokes. "Can't train with a dirty coat. That's just disrespectful." The cadets twitched. They could hear the brushing, rhythmic and steady, and something about it made their exoskeletons itch. "What asset requires grooming, sir?" Turog asked, his voice high-pitched despite the translator's efforts. Rhett turned around slowly. He put the brush down like it was a relic. Then he stepped aside. 3 shapes moved forward. They didn't walk. They flowed. Lean, muscled, low to the ground, they advanced with precision that machines envied and silence that set off primal alarms in every cadet's nervous system. One stationed itself on Rhett's left. One on his right. One behind him. "This," Rhett said, "is Havoc. That's Scythe. And this little sunshine is Brisket." He paused. "They are dogs." Silence. "No, really," he continued. "You heard of bioweapons. You've trained with AI drones. You've run sim battles against swarm bots. Forget all that. These are 40,000 years of tactical coevolution with humanity. They don't just obey. They decide. And when they do, people bleed. They're pets," Jasper whispered, his voice trembling. "They are soldiers," Rhett corrected. "And you will learn to fight alongside them. Or you'll learn to bleed under them." Scythe bared his teeth. Not a snarl. Not aggression. Just a reminder. "We gave them food, shelter, protection. They gave us senses, loyalty, and violence honed to a point. We didn't domesticate them. We offered them a contract. And they've been exceeding expectations ever since. You expect us to fear domesticated beasts?" Turog said, taking a bold step forward. Havoc blinked. Just blinked. But something in the air changed. Rhett smiled, showing too many teeth for comfort. "Demo." Brisket moved. There was no build-up. No roar. Just movement. Fluid. Precise. Terminal. 80 pounds of canine physics hit Turog square in the chest. His reinforced armor screamed as it absorbed the momentum. Brisket's jaws locked onto the seam of the plating like he'd been trained by engineers. They fell. It was not a fight. "Os," Rhett said. Brisket released, padded back to his post, and sat. Turog remained on the floor, twitching. "Lesson 1, Rhett said. Respect the asset." That night, no one slept. The Varn's breathing was irregular. The Tarsari curled into themselves. Even Celine, the carry whose people lived on gas giants, looked smaller than usual. At 0500, the cadets suited up in the bike gear. It looked like a bad joke, padded to the point of absurdity, oversized, and squeaky. Rhett didn't laugh. "Today," he said, "you learn that you're made of meat. Even with armor. Even with training. Underneath, you're flesh. And dogs? Dogs specialize in reminding you of that." "Sir, my people evolved with no natural predators," Celine offered. "Congratulations," Rhett said. "You're about to get an unnatural one." He pointed at Scythe. Celine barely nodded before the dog vanished. She turned right. Wrong. She looked up. Too slow. Scythe hit her low, fast, quiet. Her armor rang with the impact, but it wasn't the sound that hurt, it was the understanding. That she had never, ever, in her entire species' history, been hunted. Until now. He reads body language, Rhett said. Anticipates movement before your nervous system finishes the thought. How? She gasped, flat on her back. Because we don't just train them. We understand them. And they understand us. Intuition. Emotion. Smell. Even your pheromones aren't safe. These animals are telepathic. Nope. Just better than you. Jasper activated thermal cloaking. His species was proud of their stealth. They practically lived in shadows. Havoc walked straight to him, sat down, and yawned. How? Jasper squeaked. You're scared, Rhett said. And you smell like it. They can smell fear. No. They can identify it. Turog stood again, bruised but not broken. This is madness. This is evolution, Rhett replied. Ours and theirs. You made battle algorithms. We made friends with wolves. He stepped forward, his voice a whisper that hit harder than a shout. Galaxies make weapons. Earth makes warriors. Turog raised his hands. Then train us. Show us how. Rhett nodded. It starts with respect. And ends with blood. Maybe yours. Maybe not. Brisket's tail wagged once. Tomorrow, we run the maze. You will be prey. They will be motivated. Bring your best. Or bring a medic. No one argued. No one slept. And for the first time in the long history of the Ares Interplanetary War College, fear walked on four legs and answered to a human's voice. The maze wasn't designed for survival. It was built to teach humility. A twisted arena of shifting walls, scent traps, and blind corners, all under the watchful eye of Rhett Talon and his war dogs. No exits. No safe zones. Just the sound of padded feet on metal and the nervous breaths of cadets who had stopped thinking this was a game. You'll be hunted, Rhett said, his arms crossed, voice calm. Not simulated. Not tagged. Hunted. If they catch you, they pin you. If you resist, they escalate. You make it to the center without getting bit, you earn their respect. What if we don't? Jasper asked. Then they don't respect you. Brisket barked once. Loud. Sharp. It echoed through the metal corridors like a war cry. Celine went first. The gas giant native tried logic. Mapped the corners. Traced airflow. Calculated angles. It didn't help. Scythe moved like gravity didn't apply to him, always behind her shoulder, always unseen until it was too late. One moment she was walking. The next she was on the ground, armor scuffed, breath stolen by fear. You hesitated, Rhett said from the observation deck. He didn't. Do they feel pity? She asked, still sprawled on the floor. No. But they'll trust you more if you get back up. Next was Turog. He didn't sneak. He ran. Fast. Predictable. Loud. Brisket was faster. The dog didn't lunge this time. He flanked. Cut corners Turog didn't expect. The Varn's superior thermal regulation meant nothing when Brisket used scent and sound. The takedown was brutal. Direct. Efficient. This one's stubborn, Rhett muttered to Havoc, who stood beside him watching like a veteran inspecting recruits. Keep at it. He might make it. Jasper trembled before he even entered. I don't want to do this. You don't have a choice, Rhett said. Neither did we when we were prey. Jasper tried cloaking again. Useless. Havoc didn't chase. He walked. Slow. Silent. Unstoppable. The Tarsari turned invisible, but fear still leaked from every pore. Havoc waited. Then struck. Not violently, just enough to drop him, pin him, and sit on him like a disappointed parent. You don't need to be fearless, Rhett said. You need to be honest. The dogs know what you're lying about. Even from inside your own head. By the third day, the cadets had stopped joking. They moved in silence. Walked in packs. Trusted their instincts more than their tech. They asked questions, not about tactics, but about posture, scent markers, tail wags. They wanted to understand the language of the dogs. And the dogs noticed. Havoc began letting Jasper move closer before lunging. Brisket waited longer between engagements. Scythe began pacing around Celine like a silent teacher waiting for the right moment to grade her. "You're earning their patience," Rhett said. "That's progress." "Patience isn't enough," Turog growled. "I want respect." "Then give it." "I do." "No," Rhett said, stepping down into the maze. "You tolerate them. Respect is more than fear. It's trust. It's partnership." He whistled once. Short. Low. All three dogs moved at once. They surrounded Turog, not attacking, not lunging. Just standing. Watching. Waiting. "You want their loyalty?" Red asked. "Then drop the armor. You're insane. They need to smell you. Understand you. Armor's a wall. And if they bite me, then you deserve it." Turog hesitated. Then unlatched the upper plating. "Let it fall." Scythe moved first. Slowly. He sniffed. Then circled. His tail twitched. Brisket followed, pressing his muzzle against Turog's exposed arm. Havoc didn't move. Just stared. Turog looked at Rhett. "Now what?" "Now you kneel." The Varn knelt. And all three dogs sat. It wasn't submission. It was respect. Turog didn't smile. He exhaled, like a mountain finally releasing tension after centuries of pressure. That night, Turog slept beside Brisket. The others followed. The maze was no longer a battlefield. It was a classroom. Rhett watched from above, his arms folded, unreadable. "They're adapting," Corin said, stepping beside him. "No," Rhett replied. "They're evolving. You humans and your animals. Always turning nature into weapons. They're not weapons. They're family. Doesn't make them less lethal." "No," Rhett admitted. "It just makes them willing." By the end of the week, every cadet had learned to run with a dog. Not command them. Run with them. Turog and Brisket trained side by side. Celine began matching Scythe's patterns, learning how to vanish. Jasper, of all beings, found his voice. And Havoc followed it. "This wasn't training," Jasper said one night. "This was translation." "You're finally getting it," Rhett said. "They don't speak. They feel. You don't listen with ears. You listen with your gut. And if your gut's wrong, you bleed." On the seventh night, Rhett called them all together. 12 cadets. 3 dogs. 1 human. "Tomorrow," Rhett said, "we deploy." "Deploy?" Celine asked. "Where?" "Simulation. Live ammo. Hostile terrain. You lead the pack. If you fail, you die." "Die." "In simulation," Rhett added. "Probably." "Why us?" Jasper asked. "Because the galaxy's full of enemies who think you're soft. You need to show them that softness can hide fangs." "And the dogs?" Turog asked. "They'll follow you. If they believe you're worth it. And if they don't?" Rhett smirked. "Then I suggest you run." He turned, the dogs falling into step behind him. Havoc. Scythe. Brisket. Soldiers without guns. Killers with compassion. Warriors bred not to hate, but to protect. The cadets stood in silence. For the first time, they understood. It wasn't about fear. It was about faith. In creatures that had no reason to fight, but chose to anyway. Not for glory. Not for orders. But because they cared. The cadets weren't just learning to command. They were learning to become something more. Human. They dropped into the simulation zone just after artificial dusk. The terrain was modeled after Earth's temperate forests, tall trees, dense underbrush, uneven terrain, unpredictable wind, and just enough dampness to make every step noisy. The cadets didn't speak. Neither did the dogs. That was part of the lesson. You'll be hunted, Rhett reminded them over comms, but not by us. The hostiles are elite AI-controlled droids with live-fire authorization. Think of them as smarter versions of your worst nightmares. You have one job, survive for 48 hours. And keep the dogs alive. If they fall, so do you. He didn't wish them luck. He didn't need to. The first shot came 20 minutes in. It wasn't aimed at a cadet. It was aimed at Scythe. Celine didn't think, she moved, shoulder-checking the charging drone with enough force to knock it off its arc. The drone's second round pinged against her armor but didn't penetrate. Scythe lunged, ripping the drone's side open with a snarl that made 3 birds drop from the trees in shock. You protected him, Rhett said in her ear. Of course I did. That's the difference, he murmured. Some species use weapons. We defend friends. Jasper was pinned by a flanking maneuver within the hour. 2 drones moved like phantoms, no footsteps, no sound. One grabbed his arm. The other raised a blade. Havoc arrived before either could react. He didn't bark. He simply bit. Steel crumpled like tissue. The second drone turned, and Havoc drove his body forward, knocking it to the ground and ramming his head into its sensor core. You okay? Jasper asked, voice cracking. Havoc tilted his head, then licked his face. Okay, Jasper said, stunned. Guess that's a yes. Turog and Brisket worked like brothers born of different worlds. Brisket moved low, ears twitching, scenting. Turog scanned above, rifle ready. When the ambush came, they reacted not in panic, but in choreography. Brisket hit the left drone with a spinning leap that nearly shattered its frame. Turog fired a single pulse shot into the right drone's processor. Perfect sync. You trust him? Rhett asked later. Turog didn't look away. With my life. Good. Because that's what they do every time they follow your lead. Day turned to night. The simulation didn't pause. At 3 o'clock standard time, a sonic trap went off near the ravine. Jasper screamed, clutching his ears. Havoc howled. Celine hit the dirt, blood running from her nose. But Scythe didn't freeze. He ran. Straight into the trap's core. With a lunge and a violent twist, he ripped out the emitter and flung it into the ravine. The sound died. The cadets gasped for breath. Scythe returned to Celine's side, laid down, and placed his head on her chest. Why? She asked. Because pain means nothing to them if you're hurting, Rhett answered. They risk everything for us. Because we would for them. As dawn broke, the final wave came. 20 drones. Coordinated. Relentless. Fall back. Turog shouted. No, Jasper said. We stand. You'll die. Then I die with my team. The cadets formed a line. Brisket, Havoc, and Scythe stepped in front, teeth bared, ready. The first drone charged. It didn't get far. Because behind the cadets, a second unit dropped. Rhett Talon led them. And he wasn't alone. 12 more dogs. Silent. Deadly. Beautiful. Class, he said over the comms. Meet the rest of the pack. The dogs moved like shadows. In minutes, the drones were in pieces. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. The battlefield was quiet again. When it was over, Rhett approached his trainees. You held. Jasper nodded. Barely. You bled. Celine wiped her forehead. A little. You learned. Turog smiled. More than I wanted to. And the dogs? They saved us, Celine whispered. Over and over. That's the contract, Rhett said. You give them loyalty. They give you everything else. The cadets looked down at their partners. Scythe licked blood from his paw, calm. Havoc leaned into Jasper, sighing. Brisket collapsed next to Turog, snoring instantly. You are not soldiers anymore, Rhett said. You're something else now. Something better. You don't fight with orders. You fight with trust. And the enemy? Turog asked. What will they think? They'll think you're insane. And when they see the dogs? Rhett's voice was cold. They'll understand fear. That night, back at the War College, General Corrin debriefed the squad. Out of 124 training classes, your unit had the highest survival rate under live threat. You also scored highest in emotional cohesion. That's unusual. It's the dogs, Jasper said softly. No, Rhett corrected. It's the bond. Corrin raised a brow. You believe this training model should be expanded? I believe this model is the future. Corrin studied him. Because of dogs. Because they remember what it means to fight for someone they love. She didn't argue. She didn't need to. Behind Rhett, the three dogs sat quietly. But their eyes never stopped moving. Watching. Judging. Protecting. The cadets left the room in silence. No medals. No applause. But they walked differently now. Straighter. Calmer. Not because they felt powerful. But because they knew what stood beside them when they were weak. The dogs didn't follow. They led. And the cadets were honored to follow back. War was supposed to be sterile now. That's what the Tarsari High Command claimed. Clean, calculated engagements. Drone strikes. AI precision. No mess. No emotion. Then Earth entered the war. And brought the dogs. They didn't broadcast tactics. They didn't hack networks. They entered with silence and came out with teeth wet. The Varn commander who led the raid on Tarsari Outpost 7 never even saw the dogs coming. One moment his squad was running infrared sweeps and pattern predictive scans. The next moment, Scythe dropped from the roof and took 2 soldiers down before they could scream. By the time the Tarsari reinforcements arrived, the entire command team was gone. No traces. No survivors. Just paw prints in blood. And a bone. Carefully placed. Chewed. How did they breach the defense net? One admiral asked. They didn't, the analyst answered. They smelled the back entrance. Across the galaxy, elite alien officers requested transfer away from any unit stationed near humans. The rumors spread too fast to contain. They said Earth's creatures could smell guilt. They said one bark could paralyze combat drones. They said they weren't animals at all. They were ghosts with jaws. In the command chamber of Ares War College, General Corrin watched footage from the latest conflict. Rhett stood beside her, arms crossed. You didn't tell me they'd be this effective, Corrin said. You wouldn't have believed me. They're changing warfare. No, Rhett said. They're returning it. To what it always was. Instinct. Loyalty. And consequence. Aliens are requesting psychological counseling after encounters with your teams. Good. Fear is a survival trait. Celine, now a team lead, stood on the forward deck of the strike cruiser Bloodline. Scythe paced beside her, hackles raised. Something's coming, she said. Nothing on sensors, her calm officer replied. I don't need sensors, she snapped. He's twitching. Seconds later, enemy vessels decloaked in formation. Celine didn't panic. She dropped to one knee, pressed her hand against Scythe's chest. We hold. He stilled. And then he growled. 3 cadets dropped from orbit at high-velocity impact pods. Brisket landed first, rolling with the precision of a missile with paws. Turog followed, armor gleaming black, eyes locked on their enemies. The war had evolved. Tactics were rewritten in real time by tails and teeth. Jasper's unit was deployed to a Varn prison ship to recover a hostage. The ship had no digital vulnerability. It was sealed tight. Havoc sniffed the air once, whined, and moved. No questions. No hesitation. He found a vent no blueprint mentioned. He squeezed inside, vanished. The guards never knew what hit them. By the time Jasper arrived, Havoc was already sitting beside the captive, tail wagging. You're late, the prisoner joked. Blame my partner, Jasper said. He takes shortcuts. The alien prisoners began whispering. The dog walked through lasers. The dog bit through armor. The dog didn't bark. He smiled. The enemy adjusted. Tried scent scramblers. Heat cloaks. EM distorters. None of it mattered. Because the dogs didn't fight with tech. They fought with purpose. One admiral asked, "How do we stop this?" No one had an answer. On a dead world, the enemy set a trap. 12 squads. Automated turrets. Biological mines. And a prisoner baiting the humans in. The humans came anyway. Rhett led the team. He didn't bring missiles. He brought dogs. Brisket triggered the first trap by diving onto the mine and throwing it with his jaw into an incoming drone. Havoc leapt into the turret's blind spot, landed on its barrel, and ripped its camera off with a single bite. Scythe vanished into smoke. By the time the enemy's secondary forces arrived, he had already breached their flank and taken down the command relay. "How is this possible?" one soldier cried. "They're just beasts." "No," Rhett said, stepping into the open. "They're what beasts look like when you give them purpose. They're killing machines." "No. They're family." A grenade arced toward his squad. Scythe jumped. He didn't survive. Silence. The blast echoed, and when the dust cleared, Celine was screaming. Not from fear. From fury. Rhett didn't speak. He just walked. The remaining dogs flanked him. The cadets advanced behind them. No strategy. No retreat. The enemy fell. Fast. Hard. Final. Scythe's body was recovered in silence. That night, they buried him on a hill overlooking the stars. Turog placed a medal on his grave. Jasper sang. Celine didn't stop crying. Rhett sat beside the grave for hours. When dawn came, he whispered something no one else heard. "You didn't follow orders. You followed love." They left a paw print burned into the stone. So no one would forget. Not what they lost. But what they had. A partner. A soldier. A friend. Scythe was gone. But the war wasn't over. And the dogs still followed. Because they didn't fight for victory. They fought for their people. The cadets were no longer cadets. They were warriors. And behind them walked legends with fur and fangs. The galaxy would remember. And it would be afraid. The memorial on Kepler Prime wasn't made of stone or metal. It was made of soil, grass, and silence. 12 alien cadets stood shoulder to shoulder. Beside them, the surviving dogs waited, still, watchful, dignified. They had lost Scythe. But they had gained something deeper. Humanity. "You taught us to fight," Jasper said softly, hand resting on Havoc's head. "But more than that, you taught us what to fight for." Brisket growled low. Turog understood. It's not about territory. It's not about orders. It's about each other. Celine placed a collar at the base of the memorial. It was dented. Blood-stained. "Beloved. We didn't train them," she whispered. "We earned them." War changed after Scythe fell. The enemy learned fear wasn't a tactic, it was a consequence. When dogs arrived on the battlefield, soldiers abandoned posts. When Havoc growled, drones retreated. When Brisket stared, commanders resigned. And when Rhett Talon walked with them, the universe paid attention. He stood now on the deck of the largest war cruiser Earth had ever deployed. 12 alien graduates behind him. 2 dogs at his side. One name etched into his armor, Scythe. "Why do we keep doing this?" Celine asked. "They don't stop. They don't surrender." "Because if we don't," Rhett replied, "they'll forget." "Forget what?" "Why we matter." The final battle came without warning. A fleet of rogue synthetics, evolved beyond morality, launched a coordinated assault on 3 core systems. No warning. No diplomacy. Just fire. The Galactic Council begged Earth for help. They didn't send bombs. They sent Rhett. And the dogs. When the drop pods opened, silence fell across the battlefield. Brisket stepped out first, his body scarred, his eyes steady. Havoc followed, leaner now, darker, calm as the grave. Behind them came Celine, Turog, Jasper, and 9 other warriors who no longer needed permission to call themselves elite. "This is our stand," Rhett said. "No retreat. No surrender. No survivors. Only us." The synthetics moved like storms. The dogs moved like purpose. Havoc ran ahead of the charge, weaving between plasma bursts, jaws clamping down on processors like they were chew toys. Brisket launched over barricades, took a pulse round to the side, and kept moving. He didn't bark. He never barked. He just bit. The cadets followed, no longer afraid. They moved as one. Like a pack. Turog shouted warnings in 3 languages at once. Jasper coordinated drone intercepts with single gestures. Celine threw herself in front of Havoc when a sniper aimed for his flank. He licked her face before returning to the fray. Enemies fell. One by one. Not to guns. But to teeth. To teamwork. To loyalty. Then came the Omega Core, a massive AI with warships wrapped around its mind. It unleashed a shockwave that knocked the team flat. Havoc didn't rise. Celine screamed. Brisket howled. Rhett didn't move. He looked down at Havoc, blood in his fur. He knelt. And whispered something into his ear. Havoc's eyes opened. He rose. He walked. Then he ran. Straight at the Omega Core. Brisket followed. Together, they tore into it, not like machines. Like promises. Like fury given form. The explosion leveled a mountain. Red dove, covering the cadets. Smoke. Silence. Fire. And then. Whining. From the ash, Havoc limped forward, his fur charred, his eyes alive. Brisket was beside him. Tired. Shaking. But alive. They had done it. The core was gone. The threat was ended. And they had lived. Barely. On the journey home, the cadets said nothing. They sat beside their dogs, stroking ears, holding paws. The bond was no longer a training objective. It was truth. Later, at the Victory Assembly, alien dignitaries tried to praise tactics. They didn't understand. Rhett stepped forward. Held up a chewed toy. "You're alive," he said, "because something that should have been wild chose to love us instead." The room fell silent. "Don't honor us," he continued. "Honor them. They bleed for you. They die for you. Not because they have to." He looked down at Havoc. "But because they want to." Celine wept openly. Turog stood without armor, holding Brisket like a brother. Jasper wrote a new treaty clause: no mission shall proceed without a dog at its side. The galaxy adopted it unanimously. Years passed. The dogs grew old. Some died. Each one was given a warrior's funeral. Statues were raised. Stories were told. And new cadets, alien and human, lined up to be chosen. Because the future of war didn't belong to machines. It belonged to those who could love, who could guard, who could hurt for you. And still wag their tails afterward. Rhett retired. He lived in silence, near the woods. One day, a young cadet visited. "Sir," she asked, "what's the real reason humans won the war?" Rhett tossed a ball. Havoc, old and limping, chased it anyway. Rhett smiled. "Because we're not the scariest thing on Earth." "Then what is?" "The thing that loves you." Havoc returned. Dropped the ball. Licked the cadet's hand. She didn't speak. She understood. Some weapons kill. Some protect. The best do both. And smile when they do.